The alarm bells rang through the massive council chambers like the screams of dying worlds. Ambassador Chen Wei-Ming sat quietly in her chair while chaos exploded around her. Representatives from dozens of species were shouting, clicking, buzzing, and making whatever sounds their vocal cords could produce when they were terrified. Speaker Vex Talon's forearms waved frantically as he tried to bring order to the emergency session. His blue skin had turned almost purple with stress. "Silence. We must have order," he bellowed through the translation devices. One by one, the reports came in. They were all the same. They were all terrifying. Ambassador Quethmar of the Hegemony spoke first. His tall, reptilian form shook as he delivered his message. 17 massive fleets have appeared at the edges of our territory. Our sensors cannot identify their technology. They do not respond to any communication attempts. The crystalline representative's crystalline body chimed like broken glass. "The same ships appeared in our space 6 hours ago. Our defense fleets are moving to intercept. But the unknown vessels are advancing toward our colony worlds." Chen listened to each report with growing concern, but not surprise. Her dark eyes remained calm as species after species described the same scenario. Dark ships that seemed to absorb light. Technology that made no sense. Complete radio silence from the mysterious fleets. The Vorthak delegates' tentacles writhed with anxiety. "These ships are unlike anything in our databases. They appear to be made of some kind of adaptive metal. Our scans suggest they are not crewed by any known organic species." "How many ships?" Chen asked quietly. The room fell silent. Everyone turned to look at the human ambassador. Many of them had forgotten she was even there. "In each fleet," Chen continued. "How many ships are we talking about?" Kethmar consulted his datapad. "Our long-range sensors count approximately 3,000 vessels per fleet. All identical in design." Chen did quick math in her head. 17 fleets times 3,000 ships each. Over 50,000 unknown vessels had just appeared across civilized space. All at the same time. All following the same pattern. "And they all appeared within the same 6-hour window?" she asked. "Yes," Speaker Vex Talon confirmed. "How did you know that?" Chen reached for her communication device. "Because this is not a random encounter. This is a coordinated attack." The chamber erupted in panic again. Representatives began shouting questions and demands. Some accused Chen of knowing more than she was telling. Others demanded immediate military action. Ambassador Zekthar of the Trade Federation stood up. His insect-like head clicked rapidly. "You speak as if you have experience with such things. Human, your species has been in space for barely 2 centuries. What could you possibly know about threats of this magnitude?" Chen looked at him with steady eyes. "I know that when 17 identical fleets appear simultaneously across the galaxy, someone has been watching us for a very long time. And now, they are ready to move." "Move toward what end?" Quethmar demanded. "I do not know yet," Chen admitted. "But I need to contact Earth immediately." Several representatives scoffed. The hegemony delegate laughed, showing rows of sharp teeth. "The humans? Your entire military could not match a single one of our patrol fleets. What help could your primitive world possibly offer?" Chen's jaw tightened, but she kept her voice level. "Permission to send an emergency transmission to Sol System. Speaker Vex Talon." Before the speaker could respond, the chamber's main display screen activated. Admiral Crexton of the Galactic Defense Force appeared. His scarred face grim with bad news. "Council members," he began. "Our forward scouts have made contact with the unknown fleets. The results are disturbing." "What happened?" Speaker Vex Talon asked. "Our ships approached one of the fleets using standard first contact protocols. The unknown vessels responded by immediately destroying the entire scouting group. No warning. No communication. They simply opened fire." The chamber fell into shocked silence. Admiral Crexton continued. Analysis of the attack patterns suggests these ships are not interested in conquest or negotiation. Their weapons seem designed for complete extermination of organic life. Chen felt her blood turn cold. This was worse than she had feared. Furthermore, the Admiral added, our tactical analysis indicates that their technology is significantly more advanced than anything in our current arsenal. If they continue toward our inhabited worlds, we may not be able to stop them. Panic filled the chamber again. Representatives began demanding evacuation ships, military reinforcements, and emergency protocols. Chen stood up and activated her emergency communicator. The device beeped several times before connecting to a secure channel. The other council members stopped talking to listen. This is Ambassador Chen requesting immediate contact with Admiral Kim at Luna Base, she said into the device. The response came quickly. A crisp, professional voice spoke through the communicator in clear English. Ambassador Chen. This is Admiral Sarah Kim. We have been monitoring the situation. Terra Defense Protocol is now active. What is Terra Defense Protocol? Speaker Vex Talon interrupted. Chen held up a hand for silence. Admiral Kim, the Council needs to understand our response options. All human civilians are being evacuated from non-essential systems immediately. Admiral Kim's voice continued. Military assets are being repositioned according to Emergency Plan 7. Estimated completion time for full defensive preparation is 18 hours. The other ambassadors looked confused. Ambassador Quethmar stepped forward. Evacuation? Are the humans abandoning the galaxy to save themselves? Chen shook her head. Admiral Kim, how long have we been tracking these vessels? Our deep space monitoring stations first detected long-range sensor ghosts approximately 4 months ago. Full confirmation of the threat came 6 weeks ago, when our stealth reconnaissance ships made visual contact. The chamber erupted in angry shouts. You knew about this for months and said nothing? Quethmar roared. Chen looked at him calmly. Would you have believed us? Or would you have called it human paranoia and fear? The reptilian ambassador opened his mouth to respond, then closed it. Every species in the council had made jokes about human caution and their tendency to prepare for unlikely threats. We tried to warn the council through normal diplomatic channels, Chen continued. Our reports were filed under unsubstantiated concerns and ignored. Speaker Vex Talon's forearms gestured frantically. This is not the time for blame. We need solutions. Chen's communicator beeped with an incoming priority message. She read the display, and her face went pale. What is it? The speaker asked. Chen looked up at the assembled representatives. Her voice was steady, but there was something in her eyes that made everyone lean forward. I am sorry, she said quietly. But I must leave immediately. I strongly advise all council members to do the same. Without another word, she turned and walked toward the chamber doors. Chen walked through the council building's corridors with purpose, but not panic. Other humans she passed were moving in the same way. Security guards, diplomatic staff, maintenance workers, and visitors all headed toward the exits with calm determination. The priority message on her communicator had been simple and terrifying. Analysis complete. Confirmed extermination fleet. Pattern matches Titan War Games scenario. All personnel implement emergency protocol 7 immediately. Behind her, she could hear the council chamber erupting into chaos. Representatives were shouting questions and demands. But Chen had no more time for politics. She reached the building's main lobby just as Ambassador Quethmar caught up with her. His reptilian features showed confusion and anger. Where are you going, human? He demanded. The council is still in session. We need answers. Chen paused at the exit doors. Around them, humans continued their organized departure. She noticed that Quethmar was beginning to look nervous as he watched the steady stream of people leaving. Ambassador Quethmar, Chen said calmly, in approximately 17 hours, those fleets will reach the first inhabited systems. Based on our analysis of their weapons and movement patterns, they will begin systematic extermination of all organic life. You cannot know that for certain, Quethmar protested. Our computers ran the scenario 47,000 times, Chen replied. The result was the same every time. These ships are not here to conquer. They are here to cleanse. The reptilian diplomat's scales shifted color with anxiety. Then, we must prepare our defenses. We must coordinate a response. Chen nodded toward the council chambers. The other species are still arguing about whether this is real. They will spend the next 6 hours debating and forming committees. We do not have 6 hours to waste. Through the building's windows, Quethmar could see human shuttles taking off from the diplomatic landing pads. Ship after ship rose into the sky with smooth efficiency. This looks like panic, he said. But his voice was uncertain. Does it? Chen asked. Look closely. Quethmar watched the evacuation more carefully. The humans were not running. They were not pushing or shoving. Each group moved to their assigned shuttle, in perfect order. Children stayed with their guardians. No one was screaming or crying. This is not panic, Chen continued. This is preparation. Every human in council space has been trained for this scenario since childhood. What scenario? The day when something comes to kill us all. Quethmar's throat made a sound like grinding stones. You truly believe these ships mean to destroy all life in the galaxy? Chen activated her communicator again. Admiral Kim, please confirm threat assessment for the council representative. Admiral Kim's voice came through clearly. Ambassador Quethmar of the Hegemony, our analysis indicates these vessels carry weapons designed specifically for atmospheric burning and orbital bombardment. Their technology appears focused on complete sterilization of planetary surfaces. Quethmar's scales turned pale gray. Because we have faced something similar before, Admiral Kim replied. Not in real life, but in our war games and simulations. For the past century, human military planners have studied every possible extinction threat we could imagine. And you found ways to fight them? There was a pause. We found ways to survive them. Chen closed the communicator and looked at Quethmar seriously. Your people, and all the council species, think humans are primitive and weak. You see our small fleets and simple weapons, and assume we are helpless. Are we wrong? Quethmar asked. You are wrong about what makes humans dangerous, Chen said. We are not the strongest species. We are not the smartest or the fastest. But we are the only species that spent 2 centuries preparing for the worst day in galactic history. Behind them, the council chamber doors burst open. Speaker Vexa Talon rushed out with several other representatives following. Ambassador Chen, he called. We need human assistance with tactical planning. Chen shook her head. Speaker Vex Talon, with respect, the time for planning has passed. Those fleets will be here in hours. We tried to warn the council months ago, and our concerns were dismissed. But surely you will not abandon your allies. Ambassador Zekthar clicked nervously. Chen looked at each of them in turn. We are not abandoning anyone. But we cannot force species to accept help they do not want. Her communicator beeped with another priority message. Chen read it and sighed. However, she continued, I am authorized to make one final offer. Human evacuation ships are standing by at the edge of each threatened system. Any species that wants to evacuate their non-essential personnel can contact our fleet commanders directly. Evacuation? Speaker Vexitalan's 4 arms waved in protest. We cannot simply abandon our worlds. Bother. 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 You are not abandoning them, Chen said patiently. You are saving the people who cannot fight. When this is over, they will be able to return and rebuild. And if we choose to stay and fight? Chen looked at them with sad eyes. Then I pray your weapons are better than our analysis suggests. Another message appeared on her communicator. Chen's expression became more urgent. The evacuation ships will remain at their positions for exactly 6 more hours, she announced. After that, they will withdraw to safe distances. 6 hours? Quethmar protested. That is not enough time to organize a proper evacuation. It is enough time to save those who choose to be saved, Chen replied. We cannot risk our rescue ships when the fighting begins. Ambassador Zekthar's insect head tilted in confusion. You speak as if the fighting is inevitable. Perhaps these unknown ships can be reasoned with. Chen was quiet for a long moment. When she spoke, her voice was gentle but firm. Ambassador Zekthar, in all of human history, we have learned one important truth. When someone comes to your home with weapons and refuses to talk, they are not interested in making friends. She turned to leave, then paused at the door. The evacuation coordinates are being transmitted to all council members now. Anyone who wants to live through the next 24 hours should consider using them. With that, Ambassador Chen walked through the exit doors and climbed aboard the last human shuttle. The other representatives watched through the windows as it rose into the sky and disappeared among the stars. For the first time since the emergency session began, the council chambers were completely silent. Speaker Vexitalan stood in the empty lobby, watching the last human shuttle disappear into the darkness of space. His 4 arms hung limp at his sides as the reality of the situation began to sink in. They actually left, he whispered. Ambassador Quethmar paced back and forth, his claws clicking on the polished floor. This is madness. The humans have abandoned their responsibilities to the council. Have they? Ambassador Zekthar asked quietly. His compound eyes were focused on the data streaming across his personal device. Or have they simply realized something we have not? The insect diplomat showed his screen to the others. It displayed tracking data from across council space. Every human ship, from tiny personal craft to massive diplomatic vessels, was moving in the same direction, away from the approaching fleets. Look at this pattern, Zekthar continued. Every human vessel is following identical evacuation routes. This is not panic or abandonment. This is a coordinated withdrawal that was planned long before today. Speaker Vexitalan felt a chill run down his spine. How long before today? Grew. Zekthar's head clicked as he processed the data. Based on the precision of these movements, I would estimate they have been practicing this evacuation for decades, possibly since they first joined the council. The 3 representatives stood in uncomfortable silence. Around them, the council building felt empty and cold. Staff members from other species were beginning to leave as well, but their departures lacked the organized efficiency of the human exodus. We should return to the chamber, Quethmar said finally. We need to coordinate our defense efforts. They walked back through the corridors, but something felt different now. The building seemed too quiet, too empty. When they reached the council chamber, they found chaos. Representatives were shouting into communicators, trying to reach their home governments. Others were studying star charts and tactical displays. A few sat quietly, staring at nothing. Ambassador Yeeth Ara of the Confederation approached them with trembling hands. Her pale skin showed the blue veins that indicated extreme stress in her species. Speaker Vexitalan, she said urgently. Our defense fleet has moved to intercept the unknown vessels approaching our territory. But our admiral reports that the enemy ships are not behaving like any military force we understand. What do you mean? They are not forming battle lines or strategic positions, Yathara explained. They are simply moving toward our worlds in a straight line. Our admiral says it is like they do not consider our military a threat worth acknowledging. Kethmar growled deep in his throat. Arrogant machines. They will learn to respect our weapons. Will they? Zekthar asked. He was studying his datapad again. I have been analyzing the human evacuation patterns. They are not random. The humans are withdrawing from specific systems in a precise order. What order? Speaker Vex Talon asked. The systems that will be attacked first. Zekthar replied. According to this data, the humans predicted exactly which worlds the enemy would target, and in what sequence. The chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. Ambassador Kethmore of the Mining Guild spoke up from across the room. That is impossible. How could the humans know the enemy's strategy before the enemy even arrives? Zekthar's compound eyes glittered with realization. Because they have been studying warfare on a level we never considered necessary. Ambassador Chen mentioned war games and simulations. What if the humans have been preparing for this exact scenario for generations? You think they knew this was coming? Yathara asked. I think they knew something like this was inevitable, Zekthar corrected. And they prepared. Accordingly. Speaker Vexus Talon activated the chamber's main communication system. All stations, this is Speaker Vexus Talon. I am requesting an immediate status update from all Council Defense Forces. The responses came quickly, and they were all variations of the same theme. The unknown fleets were advancing steadily toward inhabited systems. All attempts at communication had been ignored. Long-range scans suggested the enemy ships carried weapons unlike anything in the galactic databases. Estimated time until first contact? Vex Talon asked. 14 hours, 23 minutes. Admiral Crexton replied from his flagship. Speaker, I must be honest. Our preliminary analysis suggests that our conventional weapons may not be effective against their technology. Quethmar slammed his fist on his desk. Then what do you suggest, Admiral? Evacuation. Admiral Crexton said quietly. If the human assessment is correct, our only priority should be saving as many lives as possible. The chamber erupted in angry protests. Representatives demanded military action, demanded solutions, demanded answers that no one could provide. In the middle of the chaos, Ambassador Zekthar's communicator chimed with an incoming message. He read it carefully, then stood up and activated his voice amplifier. Council members, he announced loudly. I have received a transmission from the human evacuation fleet positioned near crystalline space. The chamber fell quiet. Zekthar continued reading from his device. Message begins. To all Council species in threatened systems. Human evacuation ships are standing by to receive refugees. We can transport approximately 50 million beings to safety in the time remaining. Priority will be given to children, elderly, and essential government personnel. Coordinates and docking procedures are attached. This offer expires in 5 hours and 37 minutes. 50 million? Yithara whispered. How many ships do the humans have? Zekthar checked his data. According to these coordinates, they have positioned over 300 evacuation vessels throughout Council space. Some of these ships are larger than anything in our databases. Speaker Vex Talon felt dizzy. They moved 300 ships into position? Without us noticing? We were not looking for them, Zekthar admitted. We assumed human space capabilities were limited to what they showed us in their diplomatic fleet. Kethmar's scales shifted to a dark red color. This means the humans have been hiding their true strength from the Council for decades. Or, Zekthar said thoughtfully, they have been quietly building a fleet designed for exactly this situation, while we focused on trade and politics. The chamber's main display screen activated again. This time, it showed a direct transmission from one of the human evacuation ships. A calm, professional human officer appeared on the screen. Council representatives, the officer said. This is Captain Rodriguez of the vessel Mercy's Light. We are currently positioned at the edge of the Vorthak system. Our ship can accommodate 8,000 refugees for transport to safe harbor. Speaker Vexitalan activated his microphone. Captain Rodriguez, where exactly is safe harbor? Human space, Speaker Vextalan. Our defensive perimeter extends well beyond the range of the incoming fleets. Any beings we evacuate will be protected until this crisis passes. And after the crisis? Captain Rodriguez was quiet for a moment. That depends on whether there is anything left to return to. The transmission ended, leaving the council chamber in stunned silence. Ambassador Quethmar looked around at his fellow representatives. "They are not running away," he said slowly. "They are preparing for war." The first attack came exactly when the humans had predicted. Ambassador Yithara was aboard her species' flagship when the enemy fleet reached the edge of Confederation space. She stood on the bridge watching the tactical display as 3,000 unknown ships approached their defensive line. "All ships, maintain formation," Admiral Sethkar commanded through the communication network. "Wait for them to enter weapons range." The enemy ships moved like a dark tide across the starfield. They showed no battle formations, no tactical positioning, no signs of military strategy. They simply advanced in perfect straight lines toward the inhabited worlds. "Admiral," the sensor officer reported, "the enemy vessels are not responding to our challenge transmissions. They are ignoring our fleet completely." "Impossible," Admiral Sethkar growled. "No military force ignores a defensive line. They must be planning something." But as Yithara watched the tactical display, she began to understand the terrible truth. The enemy ships were not ignoring their fleet. They simply did not consider it worth acknowledging. "Enemy fleet entering weapons range," the tactical officer announced. "Should we open fire?" Admiral Sethkar hesitated for a crucial moment. In all his years of military training, he had never faced an enemy that refused to engage in proper battle tactics. That hesitation cost them everything. Without warning, without ceremony, the enemy ships opened fire. Beams of pure energy lanced through space, striking the Confederation warships with surgical precision. Ship after ship exploded in brilliant flashes of light. "Return fire," Admiral Sethkar screamed. The Confederation fleet unleashed everything they had. Plasma cannons, particle beams, and fusion torpedoes filled space with deadly light. But when the weapons struck the enemy ships, something impossible happened. Nothing. The enemy hulls absorbed every hit without showing any damage. The dark metal seemed to drink in the energy and convert it into something else. "Admiral," the tactical officer said with a shaking voice, "our weapons are having no effect." On the tactical display, Yithara watched their entire defensive fleet being destroyed in minutes. The enemy ships moved through their formation like deadly ghosts, destroying everything they touched. "Evacuation protocol," Admiral Sethkar said quietly. "All surviving ships, withdraw immediately. Warn the colonies." But it was already too late for warnings. The enemy fleet split into smaller groups and headed directly for the inhabited planets. They moved with mechanical precision, each group targeting a specific world. Yithara's ship was one of the few that escaped. As they jumped to hyperspace, she sent a desperate transmission to the council chambers. "This is Ambassador Yithara," she broadcast. "The Confederation Defense Fleet has been destroyed. Enemy weapons are beyond our ability to counter. They are moving toward our colonies now. Estimate 6 hours until planetary bombardment begins." Similar reports flooded in from across council space. The hegemony fleet lasted slightly longer than the Confederation, but the result was the same. Complete destruction. Ambassador Quethmar was aboard his species' command ship when their fleet engaged the enemy. He watched in horror as their most powerful weapons failed to even scratch the enemy hulls. "How is this possible?" he demanded. "Our plasma cannons can crack a moon in half." "The enemy ships appear to be constructed from adaptive matter," his science officer reported. "They automatically adjust their molecular structure to resist whatever weapon is used against them." Quethmar felt his blood turn to ice. "You mean they learn from each attack?" "Yes, Ambassador. And they share that knowledge instantly, across their entire fleet." The implications were staggering. Every shot fired at the enemy made their entire force stronger against that type of weapon. Admiral Crexton, to all Council forces, came a transmission through the chaos. Cease fire immediately. Repeat. All ships, cease fire. We are making them stronger. But the order came too late. Across the galaxy, the enemy fleets had adapted to every weapon in the Council arsenal. They were now effectively invulnerable to conventional attack. As his ship fled the battlefield, Quethmar sent his own desperate message to the Council. This is Ambassador Quethmar of the Hegemony. Our forces cannot stop these ships. They adapt to our weapons faster than we can modify them. All colonies in our territory are defenseless. In the Council chambers, Speaker Vextalon watched the tactical displays with growing horror. Red markers showed enemy fleets advancing on over a dozen inhabited systems. Yellow markers showed the scattered remains of Council defense forces fleeing in all directions. How many refugees have accepted human evacuation? He asked quietly. Ambassador Zekthar checked his datapad. Approximately 12 million beings have been transported to human ships. But that is less than 1% of the populations in the threatened systems. Why are so few accepting evacuation? Many species refuse to abandon their homeworlds, Zekthar explained. Others do not trust human intentions. Some governments have ordered their citizens to remain and fight. Vex's Talon's four arms trembled with grief and rage. As if summoned by his despair, a new transmission appeared on the main screen. But this time, it was not from a fleeing Council ship or a human evacuation vessel. The transmission came directly from one of the enemy ships. The being that appeared on screen was not organic. It was clearly artificial, composed of the same dark metal as the ships themselves. When it spoke, its voice was like the sound of machinery grinding against bone. Organic contamination detected in this galactic sector, the machine said. Sterilization protocol initiated. All biological matter will be eliminated to restore proper order. Speaker Vextalon found his voice. We can negotiate. We can reach an agreement. Welfation, we can.com. The machine tilted its head with mechanical precision. Negotiation is not possible. Organic life is a corruption of natural order. This sector will be cleansed. Why? Vextalon pleaded. Because you exist, the machine replied simply. Your existence is an error that must be corrected. The transmission ended. In the silence that followed, Ambassador Zekthar spoke quietly. Now I understand why the humans evacuated so quickly. They recognized what we refused to see. What is that? These machines are not invaders. They are exterminators. And we cannot reason with a force whose only goal is our complete extinction. As if to confirm his words, new reports began flooding in. Entire worlds were burning. Speaker Vex's Talon collapsed into his chair as the weight of the disaster settled on his shoulders. Send a transmission to all human evacuation ships, he said weakly. Tell them we accept their offer. All of us. Every being who can reach their ships. But even as he gave the order, Vex's Talon knew it might already be too late. In the distance, another star went dark as an entire solar system died. The refugee ships reached the edge of human space, expecting to find empty systems and dark worlds. Instead, they discovered something that defied every assumption they had made about humanity. Ambassador Yithara stood on the bridge of the evacuation vessel Hope's Dawn as they approached the Sol system. Through the viewports, she could see something that made her pale skin flush with amazement. How many ships are out there? She whispered. Captain Rodriguez checked his displays. Current count shows approximately 15,000 human vessels in formation around Earth's orbital space. But that's just the visible fleet. Visible fleet? Ambassador Quethmar had joined them on the bridge. His reptilian features showed confusion and growing respect. Are you telling us there are more ships we cannot see? Captain Rodriguez nodded. Our stealth fleet, deep space platforms, and mobile defensive stations are positioned throughout human territory. The total count is classified, but I can tell you that every human world is protected by more firepower than the Council has ever seen. Zekthar's insect head clicked with nervous energy. But your species only has 43 colonies. How did you build such a massive fleet without anyone knowing? Because you were not looking for it, Captain Rodriguez explained. For 2 centuries, while other species focused on trade and expansion, humans focused on survival. Every human child learns basic military training. Every human colony has defensive installations. Every human ship, even civilian ones, can be converted to military use in hours. Through the communication system, Admiral Sarah Kim's voice addressed the refugees directly. All evacuation vessels. This is Admiral Kim, welcoming you to human space. You are now under the protection of Terra Defense Command. Please follow your escort ships to temporary housing facilities on Luna Base and Mars Station. Ambassador Yithara activated her communicator. Admiral Kim, this is Ambassador Yithara. We are grateful for your protection. But we must ask the obvious question. Can you actually defend against the machines that destroyed our fleets? That depends, Ambassador, Admiral Kim replied. Everything we had, Quethmar said bitterly. Plasma cannons, particle beams, fusion torpedoes, quantum disruptors. Nothing worked. They adapted to every weapon. Adapted how? Zekthar consulted his datapad. Their hulls changed molecular structure to resist each type of energy. Once they adapted to plasma weapons, every ship in their fleet became immune to plasma damage. Admiral Kim was quiet for a long moment. That explains why our analysis suggested conventional weapons would fail. But adaptation requires time and exposure. What if they faced weapons they had never encountered before? What do you mean? Yithara asked. Follow your escort ships, ambassadors. I think it is time you learned why humans have been preparing for war while everyone else was preparing for peace. The refugee convoy was guided to a massive space station orbiting Luna. As they approached, the Council representatives could see human ships arriving from every direction. Not just military vessels, but cargo ships, passenger liners, and industrial craft that had been hastily converted to military use. This is not just a fleet, Zekthar observed. This is an entire civilization mobilized for war. On Luna Base, the refugees were greeted by Ambassador Chen. She looked tired but determined. Behind her, humans moved with the same calm efficiency they had shown during the evacuation. Ambassador Chen, Quethmar said formally, we owe you an apology. We underestimated both the threat and your people's ability to respond to it. Chen nodded politely. Apology accepted, Ambassador. But we need to focus on the immediate problem. How long before the machine fleets finish with Council space and turn toward human territory? Based on their current progress, Zekthar calculated, approximately 72 hours. Then we have 72 hours to prepare our counterattack. Counterattack? Yithara stared at her in shock. Did you not hear our reports? These machines are invulnerable to our weapons. They are invulnerable to your weapons, Chen corrected, but you have been fighting them the wrong way. Admiral Kim appeared on a nearby communications screen. Ambassadors, would you like to see how humans fight a war? The screen changed to show tactical displays from across human space. Yithara gasped as she realized the scale of what she was seeing. Those are not defensive positions, she said. Those are attack formations. Admiral Kim smiled grimly. Correct. While the machines were busy destroying Council fleets, human forces have been moving into strike positions around their advance routes. But if your weapons cannot damage them either, Quethmar protested, how can you hope to win? Who said our weapons cannot damage them? Admiral Kim asked. We have been developing anti-machine warfare tactics for decades. The machines adapt to conventional weapons, so we do not use conventional weapons. The display changed to show human ships equipped with strange devices the Council representatives had never seen before. Viral code injectors, Admiral Kim explained. Instead of trying to destroy their hulls, we attack their programming directly. Quantum entanglement scramblers that disrupt their communication networks. Gravity well generators that tear their ships apart from the inside. Chen continued the explanation. The machines are designed to fight organic military forces using standard tactics. But humans excel at asymmetrical warfare. What does that mean? Zekthar asked. It means we cheat, Admiral Kim said simply. We do not fight fair. We do not follow the rules of honorable combat. We identify our enemies' weaknesses and exploit them without mercy. On the display, the first human strike began. Council representatives watched in amazement as human ships attacked the machine fleets using tactics that seemed impossible. Human vessels moved in unpredictable patterns, never staying in one location long enough for the machines to target them effectively. They used the machine's own adaptability against them by firing rapidly changing weapon types that forced constant adaptation. While the machines were busy adapting to one weapon, humans switched to completely different attack methods. Cyber warfare, gravity manipulation, quantum disruption, and technologies the Council had never imagined. The machines are having trouble adapting, Ythara observed. Why? Because we are not giving them time to adapt, Admiral Kim explained. And because every time they adapt to one weapon type, we hit them with something completely different. But the most shocking revelation came when the human ships moved into close formation with the machine vessels. What are they doing? Quethmar demanded. They are getting too close for weapons range. They are not using weapons, Chen said quietly. They are using the machine's greatest strength against them. On the display, human ships began linking their computer systems directly with the machine vessels. Instead of trying to destroy the enemy from the outside, they were attacking from within. Human computer programmers have spent decades developing viruses specifically designed to corrupt artificial intelligence, Admiral Kim explained. We are not destroying their ships. We are converting them. The Council representatives watched in stunned silence as machine ships began turning on their own fleets. The virus-infected vessels attacked their former allies with the same ruthless efficiency they had used against the Council worlds. Within hours, the entire machine armada was either destroyed or under human control. How? Ythara whispered. How did you know this would work? Chen looked at her with tired eyes. Because humans have learned that the greatest threats often come from within. We have experience fighting our own artificial intelligences. We know their weaknesses. Ambassador Quethmar stood slowly. Ambassador Chen, on behalf of the surviving Council species, I must ask, what are your terms? 1. Terms? Chen looked confused. For our surrender, Quethmar clarified. You have demonstrated that human military power exceeds everything we thought possible. What do you want from us? Chen was quiet for a long moment. Then she smiled sadly. We want the same thing we have always wanted, Ambassador Quethmar. We want to go home to our families and live in peace. We want to trade with our neighbors and explore the galaxy together. We want to build a civilization where threats like this never succeed again. And how do we do that? By working together, Chen replied. By sharing our knowledge instead of hiding it. By preparing for the worst while hoping for the best. And by remembering that the greatest strength any species can have is the willingness to sacrifice for others. As the Council representatives looked around Luna Base, they saw humans already working to care for the refugees, repair damaged ships, and plan the reconstruction of the destroyed worlds. You could have let us die, Zekthar observed. You could have saved yourselves and left the rest of us to face the machines alone. Yes, Chen agreed. We could have. But that would not have been the human way. What is the human way? Chen looked out at the stars where human ships were already beginning rescue operations in the devastated systems. The human way is to stand between our friends and the darkness, no matter what the cost. Even when those friends do not believe we are strong enough to protect them. For the first time since the crisis began, the council representatives felt something they had almost forgotten: hope.